Kirin Whiskey, a match made in heaven. Welcome to Kanpai Planet, I'm Mac, bringing you the world of Japan's drinks direct from the heart of Tokyo. And today we're taking a look at the first distillery exclusive single malt from the Kanosuke Distillery. We've taken a look at Kanosuke before here on Kanpai Planet when I reviewed their first ever single malt soon after its release in June 2021. I did a deep dive into pretty much everything you'd want to know about the distillery, so please check it out. It's been a busy few months for Kanosuke since then. In August, the whiskey business was spun off from its now former parent, Komatsu Jozo. Now that was interesting given that one of the original main drivers for setting up the whiskey business was to draw attention to Komatsu Jozo's main product, shochu. However, this foreshadowed an even bigger announcement when, on the 8th of September, they announced a long-term partnership with Diageo. It's a private deal, it is a minority stake. The plan is though to have Diageo take a 50% stake in Kanosuke, subject to performance. And the agreement also gives Diageo the option to buy the company outright at some point. Until then, Kanosuke are going to benefit from support from Diageo and Distill Ventures, the brand development and investment arm through which Diageo took this stake. Exciting times! We haven't seen a deal like this in Japan since Kirin set up their Fuji Gotemba distillery as a joint venture with Seagram and Chivas Brothers back in 1972. I have no doubt that this deal is going to be critical in allowing Kanosuke to expand their whiskey making capacity in the future. But in the meantime, we've got their second general release single malt, which is due on the 12th of November 2021. On the 26th of August, they released this, their first distillery exclusive single malt. There are only 1,406 bottles of this, all hand numbered. The Kanosuke distillery is located down in Kagoshima in the southern part of Kyushu. You can take a tour of it and they have a shop, and that's where you can buy this bottle. In September and October, they ran an online lottery for Japan residents for an undisclosed number of these, which was a nice touch. Hashtag 001 is a collaboration with Rise and Wind Brewing, a beer brewery based in Tokushima Prefecture on Shikoku Island, the smallest of the 4 of the major islands of the Japanese archipelago. They make fantastic beer and have a great Tokyo taproom if you can't make it down to the brewery itself. So, how did this collaboration manifest itself? Well, after the whiskey was aged for 24 months in recharred American white oak barrels, it was then finished for a further 14 months in barrels which had previously housed Rise and Wind's barrel-aged double IPA. The wonderfully circular thing about this project is that these barrels were Kanosuke's to begin with. They started their life holding mellowed Kozuru, Kanosuke's flagship shochu, for about 15 to 20 years and were recharred once or twice during that time. They then held Kanosuke's new make whiskey. That was extracted, the barrels were sent to Kamikatsu where they held their beer for 2 months before then being sent back to Kanosuke to hold this whiskey. Rise and Win are a good partner for this project because they're very into barrel aging. They ran a crowdfunding campaign in 2019 to produce beers aged in barrels from the Wakatsuru Sabromaru distillery and from White Oak, who make the Akashi brand of whiskies. There are a few beer cask finish whiskies kicking around. In Japan, we've had examples from Chichibu, from Mars, and from White Oak. You may be wondering what the W is in front of IPA here on the label. Well, in Japanese, due to the similarities between W and dabaru, which is how we say double here, the letter W is often used to stand in for double. The term double IPA means different things to different brewers. To Rise and Win, it means typically a higher alcohol, around 9%, and a lot more hops than their regular IPA. It's 50% ABV and uses unpeated malt from the UK. There's lots more info from Kanosuke, either here on the label or on their website. We know the yeast type, distiller's yeast, a dry yeast. We know the stills used, their Miyake Industry Beauties, their 6,000 litre wash still and 3,000 litre spirit still. And we know that it's non-chill filtered. Some larger distilleries in Japan could really do well to take note of Kanosuke's commitment to transparency. If you can get your hands on this one at RRP, it'll set you back 3,850 yen for a 200 milliliter bottle. So pretty pricey. If we scale that up for a 700 ml bottle, it would be the equivalent of 13,745 yen. 5 yen shy of the price of a full bottle of their first single malt. Kanpai Planet is growing and we want you on board. If you're not subscribed, please join us and set that bell icon to all notifications. We're just getting started. Let's check out the color. This is natural color, and what a color. There's this wonderful orange tint to this tawny auburn beauty. On the nose. This is really interesting and really different. I'm getting two main families of aromas. I'm getting freshness in the form of citrus, lemon and spearmint, and then I'm getting sweetness in the form of cinnamon and golden syrup. There is a small amount of bitterness on the nose, hoppiness, which clearly comes from the beer barrels. There is also an alcohol note here, but not the deep acetone or nail polish that you often get with a young whiskey. Something a lot more lively and lighter than that. Kanpai? It's here on the palate that you're getting the full impact of that beer barrel aging. Remember, this is a double IPA, so they've added a lot more hops than they would to a regular IPA. And so this really does lead to quite a bitter character to this whiskey. Despite that sweetness on the nose, you've also got a decent level of acidity there. Behind that, those main characteristics from the nose, that sweetness is manifesting itself in the form of ripe plum, bubble gum, or honey, and again that syrup, and that freshness is coming across as lemon and lime and grapefruit. The finish is interesting, and it comes in two levels. Initially, you get hit with this IPA-derived bitterness from the hops that then actually dissipates quickly, leaving this very pleasant sweetness, almost candy-like, in your mouth. So, what's the verdict? Bully, sapid, and commendable. Those hoppy, citrusy flavours from the double IPA combine with the maltiness of the whiskey to create something very new. It's another whiskey from Kanosuke that belies its age. There is a youth and a freshness to it, but you would be hard pushed to pin this down as a 3.5-year-old whiskey. I think this would make a great highball too. Should you buy it? Well, at the regular retail price, cost performance wise, it's pretty steep. It's even steeper in the secondary market, with some bottles going for over 9,000 yen, that's around $90 US or more. It was nice to see the head of the Kanosuke distillery, President Komasa, address this on Twitter, saying that they will try to do something about it. I'm not sure what actually can be done, but it's good to see that despite that Diageo stake, they are still in touch with the people. If you fancy some beer and whiskey together, with a little more finesse than a Boilermaker, this tipple is for you. Until next time, Kanpai!